Sometimes the most powerful people walk among us in disguise, carrying secrets that could shatter every assumption we hold. In a world where first impressions dictate respect and hierarchy rules everything, what happens when someone deliberately chooses to hide their true identity? What price do they pay for blending into the shadows, and what explosive revelation awaits when the truth finally emerges? This is the story of deception, courage, and the moment when reality collided with perception in the most unexpected way possible. A story that proves that sometimes the person you least expect to have power holds all of it. The morning sun cast long shadows across Camp Pendleton as Sergeant Mike Rodriguez gathered his squad for what he believed would be another routine day. The Marines under his command had been together for 8 months, forming the tight bonds that only shared hardship and mutual respect could forge. They were proud warriors, each one having earned their place through blood, sweat, and unwavering dedication to the Corps. But today would be different. Today someone new was joining their ranks. "Listen up, Marines," Rodriguez barked, his voice carrying across the courtyard where his 12-member squad had assembled in perfect formation. "We're getting a new addition today. Some desk jockey from headquarters who apparently needs some field experience." The announcement drew mixed reactions from the group. Corporal Jenkins, a battle-hardened veteran with 2 deployments under his belt, rolled his eyes skyward. Private Martinez shifted uncomfortably, remembering his own first days when he'd been the outsider trying to prove himself. Lance Corporal Thompson just shook his head, already assuming this newcomer would slow them down. "Great," muttered Corporal Anderson under his breath. "Another pencil pusher who thinks they understand what we do out here." Rodriguez raised his hand for silence, though his own expression suggested he shared their skepticism. In his 15 years of service, he'd seen plenty of headquarters personnel who looked good on paper but crumbled when faced with real field conditions. Most of them were political appointees or career climbers who had never spent a day in actual combat conditions. "The new Marine will be arriving within the hour," Rodriguez continued. "I expect you all to maintain proper military courtesy, regardless of your personal opinions. We are professionals, and we will act like it. Is that understood?" "Yes, Sergeant," the squad responded in unison, their voices echoing across the base. As the formation dispersed to prepare for their daily training exercises, the conversations immediately turned to speculation about their incoming teammate. The Marines clustered in small groups, each offering their own theories about who this mysterious newcomer might be. $20 says it's some colonel's kid who needs military experience on their resume," Jenkins said, adjusting his gear with practiced efficiency. "Probably never held a real weapon in their life." "Nah," Thompson countered. "My money's on some intelligence analyst who thinks fieldwork is glamorous. You know the type, all theory, no practical experience." Private First Class Kim, one of the newer members of the squad, listened quietly to the older Marine's predictions. She remembered how terrifying her first day had been, walking into a group of established soldiers who had already formed their opinions about outsiders. The hazing, though officially prohibited, still happened in subtle ways. New arrivals were tested, challenged, and forced to prove themselves worthy of acceptance. "Maybe we should give them a chance," Kim suggested tentatively. The suggestion was met with skeptical looks from her more experienced colleagues. Lance Corporal Davis, a tough woman who had fought hard to earn respect in the predominantly male unit, shook her head firmly. "Respect is earned, not given," Davis said. "If this newcomer wants to be part of our team, they'll need to prove they can handle everything we can handle. No special treatment, no shortcuts." Meanwhile, in the base commander's office, Colonel Patricia Hayes was making final arrangements for what she knew would be a challenging assignment. The woman she was about to send into Rodriguez's squad carried credentials that would shock every Marine on the base. But those credentials were exactly what made this mission so delicate. "Are you absolutely certain about this approach?" Colonel Hayes asked, reviewing the classified folder one final time. "The risk of maintaining this cover is significant." The person sitting across from her desk nodded calmly, displaying the kind of composed confidence that only came from years of high-stakes decision-making. "The mission requires complete authenticity. If the squad suspects anything unusual about my background, the entire operation could be compromised. They need to see me as just another Marine." Colonel Hayes closed the folder and looked directly at her visitor. "You understand that maintaining this deception means accepting whatever treatment they give to newcomers. No special considerations, no pulling rank when things get difficult." "I've faced worse challenges," came the quiet reply. "A few skeptical Marines won't break me." Back at the barracks, the squad was engaged in their morning weapons maintenance when Corporal Anderson spotted a figure approaching across the parade ground. The person walked with military bearing but seemed somehow different from the typical headquarters personnel they'd encountered before. "Heads up," Anderson called out. "I think our mystery guest is arriving." The Marines immediately focused their attention on the approaching figure. What they saw challenged their preconceived notions while simultaneously confirming their skepticism. The newcomer was a woman, appearing to be in her early 30s with an average build and unremarkable appearance. Her uniform was properly maintained but showed no obvious signs of field wear. Most tellingly to the experienced Marines, she carried herself with the careful precision of someone who had spent more time in offices than combat zones. Definitely a desk jockey, Jenkins whispered to Thompson. Look at those soft hands. Bet she's never done a real day of manual labor in her life. As the woman drew closer, they could see she wore the rank insignia of a staff sergeant, which immediately created another point of contention among the squad members. Several of them had been waiting months for promotion opportunities, and seeing someone they perceived as inexperienced wearing higher ranks stirred feelings of resentment. Staff Sergeant, Rodriguez muttered under his breath. Probably got promoted through connections rather than merit. The woman approached Rodriguez directly, standing at attention with textbook military precision. Sergeant Rodriguez? Staff Sergeant Williams reporting for duty, sir. Rodriguez returned her salute with crisp professionalism, though his eyes were already making assessments about this new addition to his unit. Everything about Williams seemed to fit the stereotype of a headquarters Marine clean uniform, perfect posture, and an air of theoretical knowledge without practical experience. Welcome to the squad, Staff Sergeant. Rodriguez responded formally. I hope you're ready for some real Marine Corps training. Williams nodded without expression. I'm here to learn and contribute however possible, Sergeant. The response drew barely concealed smirks from several squad members. The phrase however possible sounded exactly like something a bureaucrat would say when they had no idea what they were getting into. Rodriguez gestured toward the assembled Marines. This is your squad, Staff Sergeant. 12 of the finest Marines you'll find anywhere in the Corps. They've been working together for 8 months and they know each other's capabilities intimately. As Williams was introduced to each squad member, she maintained professional courtesy while carefully observing their reactions. The skepticism was obvious in their eyes, the polite but cold responses they gave to her attempts at conversation. She had expected this reception and was prepared to handle it, but that didn't make the experience any less challenging. So, Williams, Jenkins said during the first break in their training session. What's your background? Where were you stationed before this assignment? The question was loaded with implications. Jenkins was fishing for information that would confirm the squad's assumptions about Williams being an inexperienced headquarters Marine who had been dumped on them without proper qualifications. Williams had prepared for this moment extensively. Various administrative positions, she replied vaguely. I requested field assignment to broaden my experience base. The answer satisfied the squad's preconceptions perfectly. They exchanged knowing looks that clearly communicated their shared opinion. Williams was exactly what they had expected, another paper pusher trying to add field experience to her resume without understanding the realities of actual military service. Administrative positions, Anderson repeated with barely concealed disdain. Let me guess. Personnel files, supply management, maybe some logistics coordination? Williams simply nodded, allowing the Marines to construct whatever narrative satisfied their assumptions. The truth was far more complex, but revealing it now would destroy the carefully planned mission she had been sent to accomplish. As the first day progressed, Williams was subjected to the informal but systematic testing that every newcomer faced. The squad assigned her the most physically demanding tasks during their training exercises, watched carefully for signs of weakness or complaint, and peppered her with questions designed to expose gaps in her practical military knowledge. During weapons training, Jenkins deliberately selected the most challenging scenarios for Williams to navigate. Since you're Staff Sergeant, he said with false deference, maybe you'd like to demonstrate proper clearing procedures for the rest of us. The test was obvious to everyone present. Weapons maintenance and handling were fundamental skills that separated real Marines from administrative personnel. If Williams struggled with these basic requirements, it would confirm everything the squad suspected about her background. Williams accepted the challenge without hesitation, handling the weapon with competent efficiency. Her movements were smooth and confident, suggesting more experience than her supposed administrative background would provide. This created the first small crack in the squad's assumptions, though they were too invested in their initial assessment to recognize its significance. Not bad for a desk jockey, Thompson admitted grudgingly. Someone must have given you good training during your administrative assignments. The comment revealed how the Marines were interpreting evidence that contradicted their assumptions. Rather than reconsidering their assessment of Williams, they simply adjusted their explanations to maintain their existing beliefs. This psychological tendency would become increasingly important as more evidence accumulated over the coming days. During physical training, Williams again performed at levels that exceeded the squad's expectations. She completed every exercise without complaint, maintained pace during long runs, and showed endurance that surprised several squad members. But rather than questioning their assumptions about her background, the Marines simply attributed her performance to good genes or personal fitness habits. "She's in better shape than I expected," Martinez commented to Kim after a particularly challenging obstacle course session. "Still doesn't mean she understands real military operations." The comment reflected the deep skepticism that pervaded the squad's attitude toward Williams. They had constructed a complete narrative about who she was and why she was there, and contradictory evidence was simply reinterpreted to fit that predetermined story. As evening approached and the squad gathered for their traditional after-training conversation, Williams found herself sitting slightly apart from the main group. The physical separation wasn't deliberate, but it reflected the psychological distance the squad maintained toward their new member. "So Williams," Davis said, breaking the temporary silence, "what made you decide to request field assignment? Getting bored shuffling papers all day?" The question contained multiple layers of mockery disguised as casual conversation. Davis was simultaneously questioning Williams' motivation, dismissing her previous experience, and suggesting that field work was somehow more real than whatever Williams had been doing before. Williams considered her response carefully. She needed to maintain her cover while avoiding obvious lies that might be discovered later. "I wanted to understand operations from a different perspective," she said finally. "Sometimes you can't fully appreciate something until you've experienced it directly." The base in asking to assess what's containing Soviet's own ethical standards. Then, with the next dimension. "The death of Major Body is so coercing the pressure can be adapted much understanded, that this is the book of his deepest standards, different perspective," Rodriguez repeated thoughtfully. "That's an interesting way to put it. Most Marines would say there's only one perspective that matters, getting the mission accomplished and bringing everyone home safely." The comment revealed the philosophical divide between Williams and her new squad mates. They saw military service as a practical profession requiring specific skills and unwavering loyalty to immediate teammates. Williams' language suggested academic interest rather than visceral commitment, which reinforced their perception that she didn't truly belong among them. As the first day concluded, Williams retired to her assigned quarters, knowing that she had successfully established her cover identity while beginning the delicate process of earning acceptance from her skeptical squadmates. The mission ahead would require her to maintain this deception while gradually gaining their trust and respect through demonstrated competence. The squad members meanwhile spent their evening discussing their new teammate with the mixture of curiosity and skepticism that greeted any outsider. Their first impressions had largely confirmed their expectations, but small details suggested Williams might be more complex than they initially assumed. "She's not completely hopeless," Jenkins admitted to Thompson as they prepared for sleep. "Better physical shape than most headquarters people I've met. Still doesn't mean she belongs here," Thompson replied. "Physical fitness is just one part of being a real Marine. Let's see how she handles things when the pressure gets serious." The comment foreshadowed the challenges Williams would face in the coming days as the squad's informal testing intensified. Each member had their own ideas about what constituted authentic Marine identity, and Williams would need to navigate those expectations while maintaining her carefully constructed false identity. In her private quarters, Williams reviewed the events of her first day with careful analysis. She had successfully integrated into the squad without arousing suspicion about her true background, but she had also observed troubling patterns in their behavior and attitude that would require careful handling in the days ahead. The mission she had been assigned was more complex than anyone realized, and its success would depend on her ability to maintain perfect deception while gradually gaining the trust of Marines who had every reason to be suspicious of outsiders. Tomorrow would bring new challenges and new opportunities to prove herself worthy of acceptance into their tightly knit brotherhood. As darkness fell over Camp Pendleton, none of the Marines could have imagined the explosive revelation that would eventually shatter all their assumptions about the quiet staff sergeant who had joined their ranks. The woman they had dismissed as just another desk jockey carried secrets that would change everything they thought they knew about power, authority, and the true meaning of leadership in the United States Marine Corps. The second week of Williams' integration into Rodriguez's squad brought increasingly complex challenges that tested both her ability to maintain her cover and the squad's willingness to accept an outsider into their brotherhood. The initial skepticism had evolved into something more nuanced but equally problematic, a patronizing tolerance that suggested the Marines had decided Williams was harmless but fundamentally inadequate for serious military operations. The morning sun was barely visible through the California Marine layer when Rodriguez announced that the squad would be participating in a week-long field exercise designed to test their readiness for potential deployment scenarios. This news created immediate tension within the group, as field exercises were serious evaluations that could impact their career advancement and unit reputation. "This isn't a training drill," Rodriguez emphasized as the Marines gathered their equipment in the pre-dawn darkness. "Command will be evaluating our performance for potential special assignment opportunities. Every detail matters." The announcement had particular significance for Williams, whose mission required her to observe the squad's operational capabilities under realistic conditions. But it also created new complications for maintaining her cover, as extended field operations would provide numerous opportunities for her deception to be discovered. Corporal Jenkins took it upon himself to approach Williams with what he clearly considered helpful advice. "Listen, Williams," he said, adjusting his pack with the efficiency of long experience. "Field exercises can be pretty intense for someone coming from administrative work. Don't be embarrassed if you need extra help with some of the technical aspects." The condescending tone was obvious to everyone within hearing range. Jenkins genuinely believed he was being supportive, but his words carried clear implications about Williams' perceived limitations and her presumed need for special consideration from more experienced Marines. Williams accepted the advice with apparent gratitude while internally noting the complex dynamics at play within the squad. Jenkins's offer revealed both his fundamental decency as a person and his complete misunderstanding of her actual capabilities. Managing these misconceptions would require delicate balancing between maintaining her cover and avoiding situations where her hidden competence might be accidentally revealed. The field exercise began with a 20-mile forced march through challenging terrain that would test both physical endurance and mental resilience. The Marines loaded their packs with full combat equipment, creating loads that exceeded 60 pounds for each person. This was the kind of physical challenge that separated committed warriors from casual participants. Lance Corporal Thompson deliberately positioned himself near Williams during the march, ostensibly to provide assistance if needed, but actually to observe her performance under genuine stress. He had privately wagered with Anderson that Williams would struggle to complete the full distance without requesting relief or special accommodation. "Are you holding up, Staff Sergeant?" Thompson inquired after the first 5 miles, his tone suggesting genuine concern mixed with barely concealed expectation of failure. Williams maintained steady pace without visible difficulty, her breathing controlled and her posture indicating reserves of strength that surprised Thompson. "Doing fine, Corporal," she replied simply. "Thank you for checking." The response was professionally appropriate, while revealing nothing about Williams' true fitness level or military experience. She had deliberately paced herself to appear competent but not exceptional, avoiding both the weakness Thompson expected and the superior performance that might raise uncomfortable questions about her background. As the march progressed through increasingly difficult terrain, several squad members began experiencing the fatigue and minor injuries that typically accompanied extended physical challenges. Private Martinez developed a persistent blister that affected his gait, while Corporal Anderson struggled with equipment adjustments that created painful pressure points. Williams observed these developing problems with the trained eye of someone accustomed to evaluating personnel performance under stress. Her instincts urged her to provide tactical assistance that would help the struggling Marines, but doing so would risk revealing knowledge that contradicted her supposed administrative background. The dilemma illustrated the central challenge of her mission. Maintaining her cover required allowing her squad mates to struggle with problems she could easily solve, while her genuine concern for their welfare conflicted with the deception she was required to maintain. During a scheduled rest break, Williams made a carefully calculated decision to offer limited assistance in ways that wouldn't contradict her cover story. She approached Martinez with a suggestion about blister prevention that she attributed to personal running experience rather than military training. "I used to have similar problems during long runs," she told Martinez, producing a small tube of preventive ointment from her personal kit. "This stuff really helps if you apply it before the skin breaks down completely." The assistance was genuine and effective, helping Martinez complete the march without serious injury. But more importantly for Williams's mission, it demonstrated care for her squadmates' welfare in ways that began building personal bonds, despite their continued professional skepticism.
"Thanks, Staff Sergeant," Martinez said gratefully as he applied the ointment to his developing blister. "I didn't know you were a runner." The comment created another small opportunity for Williams to reinforce her cover story while revealing just enough personal information to seem authentic.
"Nothing too serious," she replied modestly, "just trying to stay in shape for desk work." The self-deprecating humor was perfectly pitched to maintain her image as a conscientious, but limited administrative Marine who understood her own limitations. It also deflected attention from the level of preparation and foresight that had led her to carry specialized foot care supplies on a military exercise. As evening approached and the squad established their temporary base camp, the real test of field operations began. setting up defensive positions, establishing communication protocols, and organizing security rotations required coordination and expertise that would quickly reveal any Marine's actual experience level. Rodriguez assigned Williams to assist with communications equipment, a task that seemed appropriate for someone with administrative background but actually required technical knowledge that most headquarters personnel wouldn't possess. The assignment was intended as a relatively safe way to include Williams in essential operations without risking mission effectiveness. "Have you worked with field radio systems before?" Lance Corporal Davis asked as she began unpacking the communications equipment. The question was professional but carried undertones of assumption that Williams would need extensive guidance to perform effectively. Williams examined the radio system with careful attention, recognizing equipment that was actually quite familiar despite her supposed lack of field experience. She needed to balance competent assistance with appropriate uncertainty to maintain her cover story. "I've seen similar systems in training," Williams replied, "but this is my first time working with them in actual field conditions." The answer was technically truthful while creating expectations that would explain both competent performance and occasional requests for clarification. Williams then proceeded to assist with equipment setup in ways that demonstrated basic understanding while avoiding the expert-level proficiency that would contradict her background. The approach proved effective in maintaining her deception while contributing meaningfully to the squad's operational effectiveness. Davis found Williams to be a capable assistant who required minimal supervision but didn't display knowledge that would suggest extensive field experience. As darkness settled over their encampment, the squad prepared for the night security rotations that would test their discipline and vigilance throughout the coming hours. Each Marine would be responsible for maintaining watch during assigned periods, scanning for potential threats while ensuring the security of their sleeping teammates. Rodriguez approached Williams with what he clearly considered a diplomatic assignment. "Staff Sergeant, I'm putting you on the midnight to 2 a.m. watch with Corporal Anderson. He's got extensive experience with night operations and can help you understand our standard procedures." The assignment reflected Rodriguez's continuing assumptions about Williams's capabilities and needs. Pairing her with an experienced Marine during a relatively quiet period would provide supervision while minimizing risk to overall security effectiveness. Williams accepted the assignment without comment, understanding that this would provide an opportunity to observe Anderson's operational methods, while demonstrating her own reliability under actual field conditions. The 2-hour period would also test her ability to maintain alertness and discipline during the challenging middle-of-night hours, when fatigue typically reached its peak. When midnight arrived, Williams joined Anderson at their assigned observation post overlooking the primary approach routes to the camp. The position provided excellent tactical visibility while offering some protection from the cold night air that was beginning to affect the Marines' comfort levels. "First time on night watch in field conditions?" Anderson asked quietly, settling into position with practiced efficiency. Williams nodded, maintaining her cover while preparing to observe Anderson's methods. "Any specific things I should watch for?" she asked. The question was appropriate for a newcomer while allowing Anderson to demonstrate his expertise and leadership capabilities. Williams genuinely wanted to understand how he approached security responsibilities, both for her mission requirements and for her personal assessment of the squad's overall competence. Anderson spent several minutes explaining proper observation techniques, communication protocols, and response procedures for various potential situations. His instruction was thorough and professional, revealing both tactical knowledge and genuine concern for effective security maintenance. As their watch period progressed, Williams found herself increasingly impressed with Anderson's competence and dedication. Despite his initial skepticism about her presence in the squad, he was providing excellent training and treating her as a legitimate teammate deserving of proper preparation. The observation period passed without significant incident, but it provided Williams with valuable insights into the squad's operational capabilities and individual character traits. Anderson demonstrated exactly the kind of professional excellence that made Marine units effective in challenging situations. When their watch ended and they returned to their sleeping areas, Anderson offered a brief assessment that revealed his evolving opinion about Williams' potential contributions to the squad. "You did good out there, Staff Sergeant," he said quietly. "Stayed alert, followed procedures, asked good questions. Maybe you'll work out okay with us after all." The comment represented significant progress in Williams' integration with the squad. Anderson's grudging approval suggested that her patient approach to earning acceptance was beginning to produce results, even though the Marines continued to underestimate her actual capabilities. The following morning brought new challenges as the field exercise progressed to more complex operational scenarios. The squad was assigned to conduct a reconnaissance mission that would test their ability to gather intelligence while avoiding detection by opposing forces played by other Marine units. Rodriguez briefed the mission parameters with the serious attention that such exercises demanded. "We have 6 hours to identify and report on enemy positions in Sector 7, he explained, pointing to specific locations on their tactical maps. "This is a stealth operation, If we're detected, the mission fails automatically. The assignment required each Marine to demonstrate advanced field craft skills, including camouflage, silent movement, observation techniques, and communication discipline. Success would depend on seamless teamwork and individual competence under realistic stress conditions. Williams found herself assigned to work with Jenkins and Thompson as part of a three-person reconnaissance team responsible for gathering intelligence on enemy positions along a specific route. The assignment placed her in direct collaboration with two of the squad's most experienced Marines during a mission that would quickly reveal any weaknesses in her supposed skill set. "Okay, Williams," Jenkins explained as they prepared their equipment for the mission. "Reconnaissance work is all about patience and attention to detail. We move slowly, observe carefully, and communicate only when absolutely necessary." The instruction was appropriate for someone with limited field experience. But Williams recognized that Jenkins was also testing her reactions and responses to determine her actual readiness for such demanding operations. As the three-person team began their assigned route, Williams demonstrated competent but unremarkable performance in basic reconnaissance skills. She moved quietly, maintained proper spacing, and observed designated areas with appropriate attention to detail. Her performance was good enough to avoid criticism while remaining consistent with her supposed administrative background. However, during their third hour of operations, the team encountered a situation that tested Williams' ability to maintain her deception under genuine pressure. They observed what appeared to be an ambush position being established by opposing forces directly along their planned return route. Jenkins and Thompson immediately recognized the tactical implications but seemed uncertain about proper response procedures. The ambush position could potentially compromise other friendly forces in the area, but attempting to gather more detailed intelligence would risk exposing their own team to detection and capture. Williams found herself in an impossible situation. Her actual experience provided clear understanding of appropriate tactical responses, but revealing that knowledge would contradict everything she had told the squad about her background. Yet remaining silent while her teammates struggled with critical decisions seemed like betrayal of her responsibility to their safety and mission success. After several tense minutes of whispered discussion between Jenkins and Thompson, Williams made a carefully calculated decision to offer a suggestion that could be attributed to theoretical knowledge rather than practical experience. "What if we observe from that elevated position for another 30 minutes, she suggested quietly, pointing to a location that would provide better tactical intelligence while maintaining concealment. That might give us enough information to make a proper report without compromising our position." The suggestion was tactically sound, while being presented as a logical conclusion, rather than expert knowledge. Jenkins and Thompson considered the proposal and recognized its merit, implementing Williams' suggestion with modifications that reflected their own field experience. The approach proved successful, allowing them to gather essential intelligence while avoiding detection. But more importantly for Williams' mission, it demonstrated her ability to contribute meaningfully to operations while maintaining her cover identity.
"Good thinking, Staff Sergeant," Thompson admitted as they prepared to return to base camp.
That was exactly the kind of creative problem-solving that separates good Marines from average ones. The praise was genuine and represented another step forward in Williams' gradual acceptance by the squad. Thompson's comment also revealed his evolving assessment of her potential value as a team member, even though he continued to attribute her capabilities to natural intelligence rather than actual military experience. As the field exercise continued through its remaining days, Williams successfully navigated increasingly complex challenges while building genuine relationships with her squad mates. Each successful interaction strengthened her integration into the group, while providing valuable intelligence about their capabilities, methods, and individual characteristics. The experience was transforming Williams' understanding of the Marines under her observation, revealing depths of character and competence that challenged her preconceived assumptions about their unit. These men and women were proving to be far more capable and dedicated than the reports had suggested, which would have significant implications for the mission she had been sent to accomplish. But Williams also knew that her carefully constructed deception was becoming increasingly difficult to maintain. The longer she spent with the squad, the greater the risk that some inconsistency or revealing moment would expose her true identity and destroy the trust she had worked so hard to build. The field exercise was approaching its climax, and with it would come the final test that would determine both the squad's readiness for advanced assignments and Williams' success in maintaining the deception that was central to her classified mission. The stakes were rising, and the margin for error was disappearing with each passing day. The final phase of the field exercise arrived with unexpected intensity, as Rodriguez received emergency orders that transformed their training scenario into something approaching real-world crisis response. A simulated terrorist incident at a nearby civilian facility required immediate deployment of available Marine units, including Rodriguez's squad, to demonstrate their readiness for actual emergency situations.
Listen up, Marines, Rodriguez barked as he gathered the squad in their temporary command post. This is no longer a training exercise. Command wants to evaluate our response capabilities for real-world scenarios. We have 45 minutes to prepare for immediate deployment. The announcement sent ripples of excitement and nervousness through the squad members. This kind of realistic evaluation could significantly impact their unit's reputation and individual career prospects. Success would open doors to elite assignments, while failure could stagnate their professional advancement for years. Williams felt her own tension rising, but for reasons entirely different from her squad mates' concerns. The transition from controlled training to realistic operations would create numerous situations where maintaining her deception might become impossible. Yet the mission that had brought her to this squad required her to observe their performance under exactly these kinds of high-stakes conditions. Williams, Rodriguez continued, his tone reflecting the serious nature of their new assignment. You'll be integrated into the primary assault team with Jenkins and Anderson. This will be your first exposure to advanced tactical operations. The assignment placed Williams in the most challenging position possible for maintaining her cover. Advanced tactical operations would require split-second decisions and expert-level performance that would be difficult to fake or explain through theoretical knowledge alone. Jenkins approached Williams with equipment and briefing materials, his attitude reflecting the heightened seriousness of their situation. "Staff Sergeant, this is going to be intense," he said, his voice carrying none of the condescending tone that had characterized their earlier interactions. "Real tactical operations don't allow for learning curves or mistakes." Despite his continuing assumptions about her limited experience, he had developed enough respect for her as a person to worry about placing her in situations beyond her supposed capabilities. Williams accepted the briefing materials while internally preparing for the most challenging phase of her entire mission. She would need to demonstrate competent tactical performance while avoiding the level of expertise that would contradict her cover story. The margin for error was essentially non-existent. As the squad prepared their equipment for rapid deployment, Williams observed the transformation in her squad mates' behavior and attitude. The casual camaraderie of training exercises had been replaced by focused professionalism that reflected their understanding of the serious evaluation they were about to undergo. Corporal Anderson checked and rechecked his weapon systems with methodical precision. Lance Corporal Davis reviewed communication protocols with intense concentration. Even Private Martinez, the youngest squad member, displayed the kind of serious preparation that characterized experienced Marines facing challenging operations. The transformation impressed Williams and reinforced her growing respect for the squad's professional capabilities. These Marines had spent months training together, developing the teamwork and individual skills that would be essential for success in high-stakes situations. 30 minutes to deployment, Rodriguez announced, his voice cutting through the organized chaos of preparation activities. Final equipment checks and team coordination meetings start now. Williams joined Jenkins and Anderson for their tactical team briefing, where she would receive specific assignments and responsibilities for the upcoming operation. This meeting would test her ability to contribute meaningfully to tactical planning while maintaining her carefully constructed identity as an inexperienced administrative Marine. "The scenario involves hostage rescue with multiple unknown variables," Jenkins explained, spreading tactical maps across their impromptu planning surface. "We'll be entering a complex facility with limited intelligence about enemy positions and civilian locations. Entry team goes here and here simultaneously. Williams, you'll be with the secondary team providing backup and perimeter security." The assignment reflected their continuing assessment of Williams' capabilities and limitations. Perimeter security was essential, but less technically demanding than primary assault responsibilities, making it appropriate for someone they still considered to be gaining field experience. Williams studied the tactical plans with careful attention, recognizing several potential problems and improvements that her actual experience made obvious. The squad's approach was competent but conservative, lacking some of the innovative tactics that could significantly improve their effectiveness and safety. The dilemma she faced was becoming increasingly acute. Remaining silent about tactical improvements could compromise mission success and potentially endanger her squadmates' safety. Yet offering suggestions that revealed expert-level knowledge would destroy the deception that was central to her classified assignment. After several minutes of internal struggle, Williams decided to risk a carefully phrased suggestion that could be attributed to theoretical knowledge rather than practical experience. "What about using the service entrance for secondary access?" she asked tentatively, pointing to a location on the building plans. "It might provide better tactical positioning for the backup team." Jenkins and Anderson examined her suggestion with professional interest, recognizing its tactical merit while remaining surprised by its sophistication. The recommendation demonstrated strategic thinking that exceeded their expectations for someone with administrative background. "That's actually a really good idea," Anderson admitted, revising their approach to incorporate Williams' suggestion. You're developing better tactical instincts than I expected." The comment reflected Anderson's evolving assessment of Williams's potential, while maintaining his assumptions about her limited experience. He was attributing her tactical suggestion to natural intelligence and quick learning rather than questioning his fundamental beliefs about her background. As deployment time approached, the squad completed their final preparations with the efficient coordination that characterized well-trained military units. Each Marine knew their specific responsibilities and had prepared both mentally and physically for the challenging operation ahead. Williams took her position with the secondary team, equipped with standard tactical gear and communication equipment that would keep her connected to the overall operation. Her heart rate remained controlled, reflecting the kind of operational experience that contradicted everything she had told the squad about her background. "Remember, Williams," Jenkins said as they prepared to board their transport vehicle. "Stick to the plan, follow Anderson's lead, and don't take any unnecessary risks. This isn't training anymore." The advice was well-intentioned and appropriate for someone facing their first real tactical operation. Williams accepted it with apparent gratitude while internally preparing to navigate the complex challenges ahead. The transport to their operational area provided final opportunities for team coordination and mental preparation. The Marines reviewed their assignments, checked equipment one last time, and displayed the kind of focused concentration that preceded serious military operations. Williams used the time to observe her squad mates' pre-operation behavior, noting the different ways each person managed stress and prepared mentally for challenging situations. These observations provided valuable insights into their individual characters and operational capabilities. When they arrived at the operational site, the scenario's realism became immediately apparent. The facility was a complex multi-story building with numerous entry points, windows, and potential complications that would test every aspect of the squad's training and preparation. Rodriguez established their command post and began coordinating with other units involved in the exercise. The scale and complexity of the operation exceeded anything the squad had experienced during their previous training, creating genuine pressure that would reveal their actual readiness for advanced assignments. "Primary team, you have authorization to begin approach," Rodriguez announced through their communication system. "Secondary teams maintain perimeter positions and prepare for backup support as needed." Williams took her assigned position with Anderson and 2 other Marines, establishing overwatch capabilities that would allow them to provide tactical support for the primary assault team. The position offered excellent visibility of the facility while providing cover from potential return fire. As the operation commenced, Williams observed the primary team's approach with professional interest and growing concern. Their tactical movement was competent but predictable, following textbook procedures that could be anticipated by experienced opponents. Through her scope, Williams noticed movement in a window that suggested the presence of simulated enemies in positions that could threaten the primary team's approach route. The tactical situation was developing in ways that could potentially compromise mission success and team safety. The dilemma Williams faced reached its crisis point. Her actual expertise provided clear understanding of the tactical problems developing in the operation, but revealing that knowledge would expose her deception and potentially destroy months of careful mission preparation. Yet her genuine concern for her squad mates' safety and mission success made remaining silent increasingly difficult. These Marines had become more than subjects of observation. They had become colleagues and friends whose welfare mattered to her on a personal level. "Anderson," Williams said quietly, pointing toward the problematic window position, "do you see movement in that third-floor window?" The observation was factual and appropriate for her assigned role as perimeter security, allowing her to contribute tactical intelligence without revealing expert knowledge. Anderson immediately focused his attention on the indicated location. "Good catch, Williams," Anderson replied, adjusting his own observation position to better assess the potential threat. "That could be a problem for the primary team's approach." Anderson immediately radioed the tactical intelligence to Rodriguez, who relayed appropriate warnings to the primary assault team. The information allowed them to modify their approach route and avoid potential complications that could have compromised the entire operation. The successful intelligence contribution marked another significant step in Williams' integration with the squad, while demonstrating her value as an operational team member. Her alert observation had potentially prevented serious problems for the primary assault team. As the operation progressed, Williams continued providing competent tactical support while maintaining her carefully constructed identity as an inexperienced but learning administrative Marine. Each successful contribution strengthened her acceptance by the squad while advancing the classified mission that had brought her to their unit. The primary assault team successfully completed their objectives, demonstrating the kind of tactical competence that would earn positive evaluations from observing commanders. The squad's performance reflected months of training and preparation that had prepared them well for challenging operational scenarios. During the post-operation debriefing, Rodriguez praised the squad's overall performance while specifically acknowledging individual contributions that had made success possible. His comments reflected genuine pride in his Marines' capabilities and professional development. Special recognition goes to Staff Sergeant Williams, Rodriguez announced, whose alert perimeter observation prevented potential complications for the primary team. Excellent tactical awareness and communication. The praise was public and official, representing Williams' full acceptance as a valued member of the squad. The Marines, who had initially dismissed her as an incompetent desk jockey, were now recognizing her contributions and treating her as a legitimate teammate. However, the success of the operation and Williams' growing acceptance created new complications for her classified mission. The closer she became to the squad members, the more difficult it would be to maintain the deception that was central to her assignment. That evening, as the squad celebrated their successful evaluation with the kind of informal gathering that strengthened unit cohesion, Williams found herself genuinely conflicted about the mission she had been sent to accomplish. These Marines had proven to be far more capable and dedicated than the intelligence reports had suggested. "You know, Williams," Jenkins said as the group relaxed around their temporary campfire, "I owe you an apology. When you first arrived, I figured you were just another headquarters Marine who didn't understand real military operations." The admission was significant, reflecting Jenkins' complete reversal of his initial assessment of Williams' capabilities and value to the squad. His comment also revealed how thoroughly her deception had succeeded in creating the false identity necessary for her mission. "I've learned a lot from all of you," Williams replied, the statement containing more truth than anyone realized. "This has been an incredible experience." Anderson nodded in agreement. "You've definitely exceeded our expectations. Maybe administrative Marines aren't as hopeless as we thought." The comment drew laughter from the gathered Marines while reinforcing Williams' cover identity. Even as they praised her performance and accepted her as a team member, they continued to believe her carefully constructed story about her background and experience. As the evening progressed and individual conversations developed, Williams realized that she had reached a critical decision point in her mission. The intelligence she had gathered about the squad was comprehensive and exceeded the original assignment requirements. She could complete her mission report and request extraction without compromising operational security, but continuing the assignment would require maintaining her deception indefinitely, living a lie that was becoming increasingly difficult to sustain as her relationships with the squad members deepened. The ethical implications were becoming as challenging as the operational requirements. Private First Class Kim approached Williams during a quiet moment in the evening's activities. "Staff Sergeant, can I ask you something personal?" Williams nodded, curious about what Kim might want to discuss privately. "When you first arrived, I was worried about how the squad would treat you," Kim admitted. "New people sometimes have a really hard time being accepted, especially when they come from different backgrounds." The comment revealed Kim's perceptive understanding of squad dynamics and her genuine concern for Williams' welfare. It also suggested that Kim had observed more about the integration process than her quiet demeanor had revealed. "But you handled everything perfectly," Kim continued. "You were patient, professional, and willing to prove yourself without getting defensive or angry. I really respect that." Williams felt a surge of emotional connection to Kim that complicated her mission parameters significantly. This young Marine had shown genuine concern and support during a challenging integration process, and her praise meant more than Williams could openly acknowledge. "Thank you, Kim," Williams replied simply. "That means a lot coming from you." The conversation represented the kind of personal relationship that made Williams' deception increasingly difficult to maintain. Kim's respect and friendship were based on false assumptions about Williams' identity and background, creating an ethical dilemma that extended beyond mission requirements. As the celebration continued and Williams participated in the squad's informal bonding activities, she realized that her assignment had evolved far beyond its original parameters. She had successfully infiltrated the squad and gathered comprehensive intelligence about their capabilities and methods. But she had also discovered that the intelligence reports that had prompted her mission were fundamentally inaccurate. The squad was not the problematic unit described in the classified files. They were dedicated, capable Marines who deserved respect rather than covert investigation. The realization created a crisis of conscience that would require Williams to make decisions about her mission that went far beyond operational considerations. The truth about her identity and purpose would have profound implications for the squad members who had accepted her as a teammate and friend. Late that evening, as the squad settled into their sleeping areas and Williams prepared for what might be her final night among them, She received an encrypted message on her concealed communication device.
Command was requesting an immediate status report and preliminary mission assessment. Williams stared at the message for several long minutes, knowing that her response would determine the future of both her mission and her relationship with the Marines, who had become far more than subjects of investigation. The decision she made would have consequences that extended far beyond her original assignment parameters. The truth was about to be revealed, but not in the way anyone had anticipated when this mission began.